We're going to welcome in Bonita and as with the presentation tonight. Bonita Jacque is a Coptic minister, board of director member, spiritual coach, and she facilitated the self-mastery course level year 3 of the Coptic Master Course series. And I guess I have a pair of rented lips this evening, so bear with me. She is a realignment practitioner, a soul genesis practitioner, and a former pharmacist, now retired and enjoying that. And she's a grandma too, from what I've seen on Facebook in recent months. So it's a big congratulations out to her. The combination of her science background with the spirituality offers a refreshing perspective on life in this world and a unique understanding of well-being. Her professional purpose is to help her clients gain an awareness of her divinity, how applying this helps them transform their lives and understand that how they approach life can change the world. Nice topic, Bonita. It ties into our conference weekend as well with some of the topics that were presented. It's mind, body, spirit, well-being. She'll present in a moment. But
all right. So I was recently on a talk show here in Big Rapids. It's a a shop local kind of program, and I know the person that does the interviewing. So I invited myself on the show so I could talk about my business, because my website, my business flyer, and my business cards all prominently feature the words mind, body, spirit, well-being. That's really what I am trying to bring to my clients. So on the show, I talked about how mind, body, spirit, well-being is like a 3-legged stool, and all of the legs have to be there to be perfectly aligned. They need to be close in length to each other in order for that well-being state to occur. And that balance can be a moment-to-moment thing or even a thought-to-thought thing, because our alignment and our well-being is prone to wobble. So my intention was to talk about each of those legs today, but after some consideration in the middle of the night, I realized that they can't be separated. Each one is dependent on and affected by the others. So your thoughts and your emotions affect your body. Your body affects your thoughts and emotions, like when it's not feeling well or when it's not operating properly, according to you. When you're not living as who you were created to be at soul level, it affects your thoughts and emotions, and that follows through to your body. So, it's a cycle. Is it a divine cycle or is it a vicious cycle? I mean, that's kind of up to you. And this talk is as much for me as it is for you, because, it's that balance and we got to find it. So the search for well-being has led me to many classes, as you can tell from my bookshelf behind me. These are all my manuals that I use. And many of you probably know my story, but I'm going to recap so you'll understand why it drives me to do this work. So after my parents were both gone, I found out that my dad had left his first family and disappeared for 10 years. I knew he had been divorced, but only after their deaths did I find out the rest of the story. My parents got married in 1946, but my dad and his first wife got divorced in 1955. That was the 10-year period where he had vanished. So imagine the emotions that my mother was going through this time. I was born in 1956. I know she had no idea that he was married. So here I am in utero, picking up all of these emotions. I saw the emotions that she must have been experiencing: suspicion, abandonment, betrayal, anxiety, fear. My dad was gone for long stretches, often overseas as part of her job. And I can only imagine how those emotions flared up during those long periods when he was gone. He could be gone for a couple months. He could be gone for 10 months. So I think that most of us in the healing world end up using modalities that help us with our healing, because we're all wounded healers. I mean, that's pretty much why we get into this. So let's start with the inner conversations you have with yourself. Maybe the ones you don't even know that you're having. Each thought is an inner conversation with your body, with your very cells. In some of the work I do with clients, we clear negative thought forms. Well, what are those? Those are negative thoughts that we've repeatedly thought about ourselves over and over again, and they take up form in our energy field. Things like, I'm helpless, stupid, clumsy, I don't deserve that, I'm ugly. They can also be things that somebody else has directed at us over and over again. So say, for example, that you got a promotion and your coworker thought they should get it. And every time they saw you, they thought at you, She didn't deserve that. You did not deserve that. I should have had that. You did not deserve it. And one day you go, I wonder if I deserved that promotion. Well, now you've bought into it and becomes part of your energy field. So Jan Phillips, author of the book, Divining the Body, Reclaim the Holiness of Your Physical Self, says, are you speaking loving words and thinking loving thoughts to yourself? Or are your thoughts and words mean-spirited? She also says, these words hurt us, and not just ourselves, but everyone around us. It's like shooting off bullets. We have to stop colluding in conversations about our bodies that are less than loving. Every cell responds to our thoughts, feelings, and words about our bodies. And we hurt ourselves terribly when we say hateful or mean things about our bodies. We can't have joyful, passionate spiritual lives if we don't begin with self-love and self-respect. If we come out of the gate hating what we see in the mirror, we don't have a chance. Well, all of our body systems communicate, our nervous system, our endocrine system, our immune system, our respiratory system, and the rest. This is the psychosomatic network, and the elements that keep it all together are those molecules of emotions, the hormones and the neurotransmitters. We get our stress response stuck in the on position, and it causes so many illnesses. We go from disease to disease. Well, what is the stress response? It's a very complicated and intricate sequence of events. A threat to your physical safety gives you a physical response. It increases your breathing, your heart pounds, you're ready for fight or flight, either to stay or to run. Your strength is increased, your reaction time is faster, and your mind is sharper. Then when the emergency ends, it all settles down and the body returns to normal, our normal. So in modern society, it's hard to get the body to return to normal, to get that stress cycle to stop, because our thoughts and perceptions keep those stress hormones in high levels. Long-term activation of the stress cycle can increase our risk of heart disease and other illnesses. So are you ruminating over a long ago trauma, or is it something that's happening to you right now? Your body doesn't know. It doesn't know the difference. In a book called The Heart Math Solution, they say stress is the body and mind's response to any pressure that disrupts normal balance, that homeostasis. It occurs when our perceptions of events don't meet our expectations and we don't manage our reaction to the disappointment. So no one feels an emotion only in the heart or in the mind. It's a chemical reaction in the body and the brain. And this happens at the organ level and also at the cellular level. Now, psychoneuroimmunology, a very cool word, is a relatively new field of medicine. It's how our emotions link with our nervous system and how both of them link with our immune system. So let's talk about stress that creeps up on you. So if you're feeling cranky, your cells get these messages that you send them and they tighten up in response. But if you're feeling peaceful and relaxed, your cells are doing their job easily. The choices we make influence the life of our cells. Stress is not your metabolic friend. It decreases your metabolism, so you can feel bloated, you can gain weight, causes gastric reflux, increases inflammation. So now you're achy and your immune system goes into overdrive. And there's a whole litany of effects of stress hormones. In the 1980s, I know that sounds like forever ago, right? James Pennebaker was teaching the psychophysiology of stress to polygraph technicians. An expert giving the test was really curious. He said, why, when a person confessed to a crime, did they actually relax? And it didn't make sense because now they were going to jail. Well, the doctor didn't have an answer at the time, but he later discovered that by confessing to a secret or to a trauma, our immune health improved and our levels of stress hormones decreased. Very interesting. So when our painful or fearful stories are held back and we don't talk about them, the experience of holding that back is very stressful, and the cells respond with discomfort and anxiety. So revealing your well-guarded secrets can let you return to a state of well-being. Now you might have another problem after that if you're going to jail, but now you've always heard the saying, well, I got that off my chest. And then it's a big sigh, that's a release. The physical ailments that we have can stress our bodies, which in turn affect our thoughts. From July to October, I had 3 bouts of vertigo. The first one lasted 3 weeks. It was crazy. I used light therapy, the Epley maneuver, a couple doses of meclizine. It was worse in the morning. It was better in the afternoon. I mean, 3 weeks of not feeling good. And finally, one morning, it was gone. I could tell it was fading every day. But I was on guard. I was afraid it was going to come back. I started seeing a chiropractor who found out that my cervical vertebra had been skewed. So the muscle was stressed. It was pulling on the vertebra and twisting it, which then affected my facial nerve, which caused the vertigo. I had another attack in September, and it was shorter. And I had another attack in October. And in each of the last 2 events, I had this prodrome. It's like the day before my perception was off. It's like when you get new glasses and things just seem a little strange. That's how I knew that it was coming. So after some discussion with my chiropractor, I finally discovered it was the way I was sleeping. I was sleeping on my side, curled up into a ball, wear trifocals. And if I don't have on computer glasses, I'm looking up all the time. That would stress the muscles. I had my computer glasses for like 9 months before I started using them because they were weird to get used to. So I started sleeping on my back with a bolster under my knee. And I can tell you, it's not an easy change, but it's very effective. And I always thought it was because I carried a purse on the shoulder or I had, my phone at work up to my ear. Only for 40 years. So I don't know how that would play in, right? So do you think I was, really happy during this time? Well, no, it affected my thoughts and emotions. So see, there's that cycle. So I help my clients release some of these emotions via emotional clearings by cutting relationship cords, by doing aura cleanses, or even cord cutting with a collective mindset. I'm taking a class with Colette Baron-Reed, and she said, the less you can allow yourself to be conditioned by the collective, the more you can be independently successful within a more difficult collective mindset. Well, that just set bells off in my head. What if we could do a cord cutting with a difficult collective mindset or a limiting belief? Maybe things like ageism, racism, a lack mindset, a limitation. I'm too old to do this. Life is hard. What mindsets have we bought into? I mean, society tells us these things, right? And we buy into all of them. A relationship cord cutting doesn't sever the relationship, but it just changed the dynamic of the relationship. I facilitated cord cuttings with spouses, ex-spouses, ex-romantic partners, parents, siblings, children, family groups, ancestral lines. Cords can even be cut with somebody who's deceased. Who doesn't want a better relationship? I did a cord cutting with my husband. We've been married for 42 years. Do you think we've exchanged any negative emotions in 42 years? I can assure you that we have. It just makes me feel more loving. I think our relationship has really changed from that. I mean, I feel like he's treating me like a princess, and I think that's great. I'm all good with that. So I had worked with a client who was in the process of a divorce, and she said that after the cord cutting, the emotional charge was gone and they were able to separate their properties. Another client cut a cord with her adult autistic son, not because she didn't love him, but because she needed a more peaceful relationship. She said it made a huge difference. She's more patient and he responds differently. I'm currently working with the client to see if we can cut a cord with a family history of macular degeneration. So in an aura cleanse, we find out emotions that we've hung on to that aren't even ours. These show up at times in our emotional clearings. Impasse, we're really good at that. Oh, here, let me take that for you. It's like debris in our energy field, so we don't even know what's ours anymore. It's a distraction. We assume it's ours, but it's not. And so we're carrying things that contribute to our stress that aren't even ours. Just as when we hold in our secrets, our cells respond when we have an internal conversation when we're judging or criticizing someone. They hear that too, and our cells react with stress or anger. So when you're finding that you're starting to react to someone, you have to stop and bring your consciousness back to what's being said. Your cells listen to your internal conversations as well as to the external world. And Candace Pert, who's the author of The Molecule of Emotions, says, We all know the power of positive thinking, but we also need to understand negative thinking. Not negative thinking in a pessimistic view, but a willingness to consider what's not working. What is an imbalance? What is my body saying no to? Lack of essential information about our situation is a major source of stress. Honest thinking will lead us to the areas of pain and conflict that we've hidden and we need to work on. Health is just not a matter of thinking happy thoughts. Sometimes the biggest impetus to healing can come from jump-starting the immune system with a burst of long-suppressed anger. Takes that to get us to go. Have you seen the Facebook meme, "My desire to be informed is currently at odds with my desire to remain sane"? Think of all the garbage on the news. My husband is a retired military officer, loves to watch the news. He has it on as background noise. He's the hawk, I'm the dove. I can't stand to hear people debating each other and demeaning each other. I remember hiding behind the couch as a kid when Gunsmoke came on and they're going to start shooting at each other. So our thoughts have an effect on our biofrequency of the human body. So Bruce Tonino and Gary Young of the Young Living Company used a biofrequency monitor to show the relationship between frequency and disease. So frequency is a rate of electrical energy that can be measured between 2 points. The human body was found to be 62 to 68 megahertz during the day. Illnesses had an impact. Flu symptoms decreased the frequency to 57. Cancer decreased the frequency to 42. Now listen to this. They found that negative thoughts lowered the frequency by 12 megahertz and positive raised it by 10. So negative thoughts are more harmful than positive thoughts are beneficial. But prayer and meditation increased the frequency by 15 megahertz. So do you see why Hamid Bey and we here at the Coptic Center tout meditation? Very healing. Did you know that the subconscious mind has no conception of consciousness other than that of yourselves? So when you criticize or find fault with other people, our mind thinks we're talking about ourselves. So these thoughts and feelings that we're sending outward bounce back to us. Okay. So consider this. The co-founder of the Chopra Center for Wellbeing, Dr. David Simon, said that he estimates, based on patients that they see at the Chopra Center, that over 90% of the toxins in the human body are not byproducts of foods or harmful chemicals or bacteria. They develop from our toxic emotions. I think that's fascinating. He said on a quantum level, we're not sick from the toxic foods we eat. We're sick from the toxic emotions that are not processed. So do you see why balance is so hard to achieve, and especially to maintain? So now let's talk a little bit about spirit. Through my work in the Akashic Record, I know how important it is to know who you are at soul level and then to express that. You bring that out to the world. Your primary energy center or your soul gift is how you express yourself. Are you living in congruence with the way you were created? You were created to have a certain energy come to you that you're created of. You have soul trainings and other soul gifts and talents that you can bring forward in this lifetime. If you want to do life the easy way, be in congruence with who you are at soul level. We tend to fumble at times in our lives. Should I go here or there? What's my purpose? I have a new client that went through a near-death experience recently, and he is totally discombobulated. He's trying to figure out his purpose. It was a very interesting story. And we're doing a little bit of Akashic Record work to help him understand what his gifts are. And when we did the reading just last week, he's like, yep, this is me, this is me. And it's like, well, you need to express that. Now his gifts are divine truth and divine communication. So you need to go out there and tell your story about this near-death experience. So, you know, it's not hard to do all of these things, right? Yeah, no, it is hard to do all of these things. It's a process. It's a moment-to-moment thing. Do your best in each moment. Stop and breathe when the moment gets away from you. Use prayer and meditation to connect to source. Colette Baron-Reed said something in class as I was writing this. It really caught my attention. She said, our energy impacts everything around us. It impacts the way we think, and the way we think impacts the way we feel, and the way we feel tells the universe by signaling, this is the energy I want more of. You see, the conditions around us in the physical tell us how to feel, but we need to pay attention to those inner conditions. The inner journey and the invisible world is really where we should focus. Mind, body, spirit well-being is a tenuous balance at best. I said it's like a three-legged stool, but it's also like one of those balance boards that you might find in the gym or in physical therapy where you're, trying to stand on it and it's going like this. If you've been on one of those, you know it's a constant readjustment to keep your physical balance. But with practice, you get better and better, as Jim said earlier when somebody asked him how he was, better and better. That's what you learn at the Coptic Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonita. Getting in balance, and after a Sunday evening meal before the service tonight, it's like, oh my goodness. So I can kind of get back in balance, and your words to find that space when you're incongruent with yourself and get into your heart space and get centered again. That's fantastic. It's a carryover from last weekend's conference. A lot of the messages that continue. I didn't realize you cut the cords. Could you talk a little bit more about that, of cutting cords, not only for with relationships, is it you commented on, and is it just different aspects of people that are having challenges in their life, and not just with relationships? Is it for
yeah, not just with relationships, but also with mindsets. At my age, is there, society says I can't do such and such, or, I won't be good at this, or maybe I shouldn't drive, or, all of those things. And so what if I cut the cord with that so that I am not affected by that energy anymore? So it's a very interesting thing. Lack and limitation is a really great one, because if we feel like we're limited in some way, or society tells us we're limited in some way, or maybe it was our parents or the school teacher or somebody, but to cut the cord with that limiting belief so that you could thrive. So I don't facilitate this myself. I call in a divine being to facilitate this. We come up with, what is your outcome? How significant is it on a scale of 1 to 10 that we do this work? Is this appropriate for us to do this work? And we look at how it affects 3 of your chakras, what specific aspect. One of the reasons I took this class is because she said that there are 150 data banks in the chakras. Okay, well, I was only taught that each one was about, 1 or 2 things, but no, there's like 150 aspects. So we find out what specific aspect of your life and 3 chakras have been affected. What is the negative energy in the cord affecting it? We then cut the cord. We put in positive emotions to support you while you heal and rebalance. And then we examine the dynamics of the cord to say, what energies are you receiving from the mindset or from the other person? And what energies are they receiving from you? And so it could be things that you're feeling, or it could be things that you're unconsciously sending, subconsciously sending. It's very interesting. And most of the time, people are like, yep, I know that. Yep, yep. So, when you're feeling something, think like say I filled my cup with water and I filled it too full, it flows over, right? So if you're feeling something and it's so overwhelming, where's the path of least resistance? It's going through the cord to the other person. So it could be something you're sending, or it could be something you're feeling. So I've been working with this probably for about 6 months, and it's been really interesting. I've cut cords with an ancestral line for someone, and it's just so interesting the amount of applications that you can do. As I'm finding more and more, because finding that about the collective mindset, I just thought was fascinating. So I think it's fun, but it's been very beneficial for my clients, and they really seem to get a lot out of it. Because when you can change the dynamic of a relationship, so you can take some of that toxicity out, it can make a huge difference. The emotional charge is gone.
Great
That
answer.
was a long story. Sorry.
Stories are good. You mentioned about working with auras too. Do you see auras and colors, and do you work with that as you cut the cords as well?
I do an aura cleanse. If I saw an aura, I'd have to be in the back of the church and I'd have to be squinting and it would have to be kind of dark. I'm not very perceptive on that. But an aura cleanse is kind of the same thing. What energies, we look at 4 different types of things. We look at unwanted influencing energy. These are bossing, coercing, nagging behaviors that people that have an agenda for you and told you how you should live your life that you pick up. We look at psychic ties, which are like little whisper thin type cords that we have to people that we've read about in the news or on TV. These just kind of that interest thing. And then those things will all get cut in the end. And then we look at the negative thought forms that I talked about. So how many negative thought forms do you have that you've created about yourself? Or somebody has created about you because they've thought about you over and over again. My best example of that is I had a client who's 77, and a negative thought form of lethargy came up when she was 7 years old. And I said, does that make any sense? She goes, oh yeah, the nuns always told me I was lazy. So she's carried this energy of laziness for 70 years. So we clear all of that too at the end. And then we also find out emotional residues, the emotions you might pick up from somebody walking by them in the grocery store. Or some people are very sensitive and they will pick up a lot of these things. I've had people with 70 different kinds of energies that they're carrying that aren't even theirs. And so with Archangel Michael's help, everything gets cleared in the end. And the people just generally feel lighter. And I had one client who said, I said, well, how do you feel? And she goes, I don't know. When you felt one way for so long, it's hard to really tell you what I'm feeling. It's different. I know I feel different. So the emotions are just fascinating to me.
I just wanted to, probably some of you remember Jeannie Greening, who did aura balancing, you know, as a service at our conferences and stuff. And she would, you would lay on a table with your eyes closed, and you know, she would have different crystals, and she'd go up and down your chakras, and you would cut cords. Or before you cut the cord, you wrote on an imaginary whiteboard how you felt about the experience that you were having, and then you erase it with divine love, and then you cut the cord. And that was very good work.
I think Ellen posted the website for Bonita if you want to take a look at that at your leisure. And your offering, is it something you're still taking classes for, Bonita, or are you through the completion of the training on this?
I will never be done taking classes.
Self-mastery.
The class with Colette Baron Reed is Oracle School, and that gets over in, I think, April. And I'm starting a 6-month soul mastery coaching program at the end of the month. And yeah, got to keep learning.
Mm-hmm.
I just get disengaged from the collective mindset that I am too old to learn something else.
Yes, right.
Very good.
Michael?
Yes,
Well, Bonita, do you have a ceremony when you cut the cord?
It's done through prayer.
And when you cut the cord, you say that prayer and cut the cord, or do you facilitate?
No, I ask Archangel Michael. So we address Archangel Michael to cut the cord. And it's like, you know, cut this cord so there's no more back and forth of emotion and energy between us, but only love, or another version is only peace. And then in the end, we do a prayer to disconnect me and the other person so we're not trading anything.
Thank you.
Have you worked with anybody that has a COVID, Bonita, that tested positive, that is ill, and cutting that cord? And that's a whole
I
nother,
have not, but that is fascinating, Michael.
since the ramp up with folks having the variant kicking in, at least in my neck of the woods over here in Grand Rapids. It's yeah, interesting thought.
It is a very interesting thought. Yeah, I'm just getting ready to do the one with the macular degeneration history. It was a grandmother, a mother, her two sisters, and then my client who's the daughter. So be interesting to see if we can eliminate some of that.
That'd be a gift. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So we got an appointment this week. We did one cutting already, so we're gonna work on, I think, that this week.
Do your clients have the macular degeneration?
She
Or-
has a couple of spots. Her grandmother went blind, her mother went blind, her mother's sisters went blind.
Oh, boy.
And so she had a few spots, she said, last year, and this year she has more spots. It hasn't affected her vision that she can tell.
Uh-huh.
My doctor was able to tell. So, you know, what if we could cut that and change her life
Right.
Wow.
or her future?
Blessings, everybody. Have a great week, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, greatest.
Thanks, Bonita.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that wasn't Jim snoring, that's Lola.